I wanted to jump on real quick and just talk about an experience I had. Actually, about a week ago, I went to a Greifshare group, and my mom had always invited me to go for at least a year. She'd been inviting me to go. My aunt passed away about a year, almost 2 years ago now, and my mom was having a hard time with that, and so she decided to join the Greifshare group, and she was telling me how helpful it was, and she really wanted me to come. But when you hear things like that, you just think, I don't want to sit around a bunch of people that are basically crying all day. Like, when you hear it initially, you think like it's not something you really want to be involved with. It doesn't sound like fun. And I seen the lady my mom worked with all the time. She'd always, stop me whenever I seen her at church, and she would just say, hey, you're welcome to come to the grief share group that your mom was involved in. We'd love to have you. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go. I want to see what this is about. And I'm going to tell you that I'm glad that I went. There were a few things that I just wasn't expecting. First thing, wasn't expecting to actually learn something new. Second thing, I'm not going to say I wasn't expecting to learn something new, but what they talked about, even though the group says grief share, how it actually related to what I was feeling when I lost my mom. And the second thing I learned was just how much influence my mom actually had on other people. So when I got there, it was amazing to me because people were like, oh my God, this is T's daughter. And everybody wanted to come shake my hand and just tell me how much my mom meant to them. And there was one lady in particular, she came up to me and she talked to me for the longest time. And I realized how much my mom was having an impact on other people, not just with her everyday life and who she is, but honestly with her cooking, with her loving on people the way that she does. My mom didn't know any strangers, okay? My mom was all about, do you know Jesus? So I love that about my mom, but I really seen the impact of her going to this group and what it had on other people. And so some of the things I actually wanted to just kind of talk about is just knowing the signs of when, what you can do if you see somebody that's grieving. There are a lot of different things that you can do. So I feel like it's kind of a taboo conversation. People don't know what is okay versus what's not okay to say to somebody. And because I've gone through this, I'm just going to talk from my experience. I won't talk for anybody else. But if you have a friend that's really close to you and they're having a hard time, it is absolutely okay to just bring them some food. And I know that seems like a really simple thing, but the last thing that you really want to do is, in my opinion, you're already dealing with a lot of stressful things. And then to have somebody else say, hey, what do you want me to help you with? Or what kind of food would you like me to bring? If you know them well enough, take a good guess or Google something that's simple that you think is general, or maybe talk to somebody that that knows them better like that if you're not really sure. But if you just say, hey, I brought you some food or I made you some food, here you go. When you're ready, feel free to call me or talk. Which is very helpful because when it's fresh and it's new, there's so much that can be hitting you depending on who's dealing with all the planning. It can be a lot hitting you at one time. So I feel like if you can just kind of read the room, see where they're at, if they have kids, if they don't have kids, see what's going on in their head, just kind of take inventory of what's happening and just do something without them saying and say, hey, I just wanted to do this for you, let you know that I'm thinking about you. Here you go. That's a big thing. Because like I said, the last thing you really want to do is give somebody else more instruction, especially if you're the person planning it. And now you're trying to figure out, okay, what else can I give somebody to do so they don't feel like they're not helpful? And people only know to do what they've seen or maybe what somebody has told them. So it's okay if you know the person really well to just take the reins and say, hey, I made you something. Or even I've heard people say, at the group, they were they had people that would come and rake their yard or they would cut the yard. They wouldn't even let them know that they were doing it. They just did it out of the love of knowing that they were going through something they wanted to help out. I thought that was instrumental, and it lets people know how much you really care about what's going on in your own way. Everybody has their way to grieve. Everybody has their own way of saying, hey, I want you to know I'm thinking about you. So something else that they talked about was just knowing the signs of when somebody is grieving in an unhealthy way, which again, I thought was extremely instrumental because sometimes you see people grieving longer than they probably should. Not saying that there's a time frame on grief, because it's different for everybody. It's not the same. Everybody does not respond the same way. But sometimes you'll talk to somebody, and I've had a personal experience this with a family member where they've had a traumatic event happen, and this can just really be in life in general, not just with losing somebody, but they had a traumatic event happen, and you talk to them and they cry just like it happened yesterday. There are all these emotions that come up towards certain people like it happened yesterday, and then you talk to them and it was like 10 years ago. Now, not saying that it's a bad thing to express these emotions, but some people get stuck in their grief. And when they get stuck in their grief, they're not growing at this point. So when you get in a situation like that, you have to figure out what stage of grief you're in so that you can kind of work through it the best way that you know how and move on to the next stage. So for me, I realized because I talk about me losing my mom so much that I actually went through all the stages, and I don't claim to like have it all worked out and figured out and stuff like that. But just in being in this class, it helped me to understand how I went through these different stages and what helped me get through those stages as quickly as I did. So one was just me talking about how I felt. Two was just talking about the things I wish I had done or known to do when I seen signs of something not being right. And then I had the signs of like, okay, I can't change that. Even if I was able to recognize those signs, the outcome may have been the same. So it's just coming to peace with like, okay, this is what happened. You know, sometimes it's not the way you played it out in your head, like how you envisioned it to happen, but sometimes it goes down that way and you have to just make peace with it and know it's okay, because we're all learning, you know. Like when you lose somebody, there's no handbook on how it's going to happen, the way it's going to play out and how you're going to feel about it. So now that you're more aware, if you happen to come across that or you have a friend that comes across something like that, you can kind of identify where they are and how you may be able to help. So I think those are the two biggest things that I took away is just knowing how to process your grief, knowing where you are in your grief, and then knowing, honestly, just like, I'm thinking I lost my mother, but I never really thought about how the friends of my mother were grieving her as well. So that was something that we talked about, and they would say, you know, I know you lost your mom and I know how that hurts, but we want you to know that we're also grieving her loss too, because she meant a lot to us. Like, she brought a lot to this group. And this person in particular, she was so grateful for my mom always picking her up to bring her to the group, or cooking chicken. So if you guys don't know, my mom was infamous for cooking. She did not like to see anybody going hungry. She did not like just anything concerning food. She wanted to make sure that you were always full. And so I told this kind of a joke while we were sitting there, because they said how one day somebody made a comment about wanting some of her peach cobbler. My mom brought the peach cobbler made from scratch. She bought the ice cream and she brought a full meal to go along with it. So everybody felt bad because they didn't bring anything comparable to that. It was like cookies and chips and stuff like that. But I told him how my husband, he took a bite of my mom's chicken one day, and he took a bite and he was like, "This chicken is amazing." He was like in love with my mom's chicken. And after that, like for his birthday, all he wanted was a big bowl of chicken. So my mom, of course, she made it for him. So, you know, I went to this Greifshare group. I'm going to tell you, if you have been in a position, and it could be really anything, find a group of people that understand where you're going or where you are in life, and surround yourself with people that want to help you get to a new level. You know, it's not just Greifshare. It's like if you are trying to build a business, you want to get around people that are going to help you build that momentum. They're going to challenge you to be the best version of yourself. And you want to just be around people that want you to succeed. You don't want to be trying to do something and you have all these people that are telling you can't do it. Or you don't want to be trying to make progress and they're saying, well, why are you trying to leave us? Why don't you want to stay with us? Like, that's not your tribe. That's not your circle. You want to be with people that want you to thrive and to be the best version of you. So went to this Greifshare group. That is what I got out of it. I hope you guys got something out of what I said and what I got from that. And if you want more information about my planner, we are in a little process of changing a few things on the planner. which one of them is going to actually be the name change. And I'm just going to wait until I actually get the new sample in, and I'll reveal that so you guys can see it. But if you need clarity on where you are in your life when it comes to figuring out, like maybe you have lost somebody, or maybe you want to get things in order with your own life and figure out, where do I start? We help you with gaining clarity of where you are. We help you with gaining clarity on how to have these conversations with your family, because it's one thing to sit down and write all this stuff out for yourself. It's another complete conversation bringing this to the light for your family, because some family does not like talking about anything dealing with, hey, if this happens, this is what I want you to know. So I help you guys with all that. You can go to notyourtypicalplanner.com, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Have a great day.